that you are at New Paltz teaching. So Claire, welcome. I think it was such a good idea to put Sarah and I together because our poems are, all about sort of violence on animals. And so that you're going to get more of the same. And thanks for everyone for coming. So this is the book Sing Mongrel. Is all about animals. The first section has a lot of poems that are also inspired by Grimm's fairy tales and this kind of fairy tale-ish mode. And the second section is a kind of historical narrative about the beefing of the West, basically. The third section is about animal experimentation, and then the fourth section tries to get a little out of the mire a little bit. And what do we do with this? But the first poem I'm going to read is called Want, and it was inspired by, I like stories of people raised by animals, and normally they're like, people raised by wolves and things, but I read a book called Gazelle Boy about a boy raised by gazelles, and it was fascinating. So this poem is inspired in part by Gazelle Boy. Want. Dusk births a weird teeming, burrows in the eye. Animals made of dusk emerge from the night's hide. In her night clothes, she creeps out among them. They are shuffle and breath, licking their pelts, leaning in the dark toward presence. They circle and scent. She is a blot in the field, and she wants to be with them, to touch them, to know what they know. She wants to be known, and they know her. Once she was a hole, and death filled her, as ruin fills a felled tree. Death clings to her. The buried thing in the backyard, meat bleeding in its drawer. She wears it as her own face, her eye teeth, her fine pattern of bones. Once she was an animal, and now she is want and stench and fist. Mammaled, teat tethered to hunger, to heat beating its blood noise through cell walls of tomorrow's marrow, we feral lettered, a future, thin thing, revealed, all knee and milk teeth, milk scent, milk century. Stag. Stag. What doesn't fear my hands? The crush of my thumb, my fingers that make a fence. The deer stand on one side, watching. Among the trees, they are hard to see. Their skins smell of leaf mold. If they would let me, I would trace the grain of their pelts, its marks like a secret language. I would put my hands upon them, and their eyes would roll white. And then we are in a green room, the stag and I. His brown eye turns like a globe, leaves fall around us. The leaves, then the trees. The trees fall around us. We watch them through the window. The trees fall, and then the deer fall. I want to speak, to stop this, but my voice box, I see, is in the palm of my hand, closed as a seed. First the antlers fall, then the hides dry up and blow away, and the bones erode until they are only eddies of sand. The stag closes his eye. Out of the wreckage, deer shapes of light rise and walk toward us. They walk through the window, they walk through the wall, they walk through every fence I make between us. The antlers are heavy. They drip blood into my eyes. They bow my neck until I am doubled, until I am savage and forest and endless. There's a recurring character who occurs, there's two characters that appear and reappear throughout Sing Mongrel. One of them is the narrator, and one of them is a character called Crackbone, who is sort of Leatherface from Texas Chainsaw Massacre, and sort of a cowboy. And he is someone whom the narrator is both drawn to and repelled by. He feeds her, but he's also, you know, the very manifestation of death. And the first Crackbone poem I wrote when we were living in New Zealand, and my husband and I were right on the ocean. We were down underneath these cliffs, and we watched this woman. She was walking her dog up on these cliffs, a little Jack Russell, and he ran after some sheep and chased them off the cliff. And so, you know, all these dead sheep at the bottom of the cliff by us. And, you know, luckily my husband will not tolerate this and went running after her and shamed her mercilessly for leaving her dog off the leash. But Crackbone carries the lamb. The lamb bleats himself into silence, effluvia in the throat hold, earth warm. Sheep cleaved from the mountainside, spore of sheep, wind bred, spread, springing up in clutch and tussock, fungal, many-footed, blight of teeth. Sheep at the sea edge, reef of drift bone, salt white. The amniotic scree out of which I walked on the gray rock, on the red rock. Shepherd my tongue into the pound, Crackbone carries lamb. I'm sorry, most people actually has to drink water. The night was animal, was owl maw and prey claw. Half wild, I shrank from its grasping, the moon scything through fir limbs. Half tame, I heard the scuttle of blood. Crackbone, I followed your footsteps. I followed your footsteps, I opened the night box, I scalped the meat beasts, I bewildered my body with hair and claw, humping the sacrifice through the chambers of night. And still the forest continues, the line speed never slows. I am up to my ankles, hand cramping on the knife. Where is death? Where does death enter our lives? Death is a house inside the forest. Come, I am made of many doors. Molt. First, there's a hatching in the crawl space, the kindling of hair, something getting out of hand. Then riots in corners, water-scrawled walls. She's aware of the changes, the ringing around her eyes, fur around her mouth. Unbecomingly a foxing, a murk at the center. Something is eating at her, located in the velvet. Dressed out like an animal, she thistles and fickles. She fawns in a murmur of milk, grows feral, febrile, soft as the inside of teeth. When I was writing this book, I would think to myself, oh, I think I need an egg poem, or I think I need, you know, a fur poem or something. So this is my egg poem, and the word oosphere is an egg. Brood nursery bred, you, albumin-clad, stand candled and declared unviable. The oosphere inside, the also sun, unseen, unharvested. Dark hatchling, egg lice in your hair, I wash you clean. Another hatches, I wash you clean. There was a brief period in my life in which I was a fish butcher. It was a really odd moment in my life. And I was lived in Minnesota, so you know we were nowhere near an ocean, but fish would come in every day from the oceans. And I became obsessed with the flounders when they would come in, and you know flounders have an eye that will travel to the other side of their head. You know they're born with their eyes on both sides, and one will travel to the other side so that they can lay on the bottom of the ocean. both eyes looking up. And when they would come in, sometimes they were in the process of moving, you know, they weren't, and it was, I don't know, I was fascinated by that, so. Sea swallowed, severed from the ankle, the feet swim free, tide drawn deeper, further, flattening, scuffling under the sand, skin finning, and slowly, slowly, the flounder eye traveling up from the soul. How far will I go without feet? We. Watch, little fish, the sun eclipsed by my moon skull. I am made of many doors, water falling through water, white lichen on painted arrows, tracks in snow, pine marten, squirrel, little snow hands. Can I say they are like my hands? Like my hands? Are they hands? Skeins of wool fall through my fingers. I knit a sheep house for my body. I knit a sheep house. I knit a sheep house for my body. Beautiful body. Entering. And I wanted to close with just a few poems from a long poem I've been working on, or a series I've been working on, called Dollyland. And it's about the clone sheep Dolly. Though in these poems she's made monstrous.
As opposed to the actual Dolly.
Okay, so actual Dolly, you know, she's a nice sheep, you know, she had some lambs and, you know, etc. And in these she becomes large and monstrous and budding, and she's the body from which the future buds. So this poem is called Sucking Dolly. It is night, and the lambs on the body of Dolly sleep. Such hungry we have never been. It is night, and the milky stars mock us, up there, milky on the fleece of night, a milky crown for Dolly. And she falls upon Dolly with her blind mouth. With our terrible mouths we fall and suckle the greatly teat. And the white milk pools in our mouths, and the white milk wools our blunted tongues. Wools our tongues, and so wools our eyes. Wool blind, I watch the milk fleece my veins until I'm sheep-tracked, frontiered, pasturage upon which the dollies graze their white invasions. We will fatten ourselves on the milk of Dolly, and the forests will kneel before us that we may put them in our mouths. In our mouths we will gnaw the forests to the root. We will cud the forests with an outlaw tooth. In our mouths we will succor them, here in the shadow of Dolly, here in the white waste of Dolly. Inside Dolly. Sometimes the fleece falls open and I see inside her. Her wreckage of ribcage and staircase, her factory of small parts, conduit and spool. Sometimes the fleece falls open and I see a dazzle of pasture, a needle and a wound, ships full of things that gnash in the hold. Sometimes the fleece falls open and inside her I see the red house. The red house squats on the edge of a dark forest, and every window burns. Burns so I feel it inside me, inside my cells. Dolly smells fetid, foxed, scorched oil and wet metal. Sometimes the fleece falls open and I put my eye to the window. In one room I spy the dark forest, but bonsai'd, a clipsonscape. In one room a feral thing, matted and pink. She is crouching on the body of an animal, and she is peering through the fleece. The animal on the floor grows smaller each time the feral thing blinks. The animal on the floor opens its mouth, and it looks shiny inside, steely as a chute, and animals are coming through, one by one. They are small, these animals, no larger than seeds, no larger than droplets of spittle. They are coming down the chute, one by one, and their eyes roll white, their feet skid in the blood at the foot of the chute. And I am waiting at the end. I am waiting in the window of Dolly with the knocker in my hand. Dreaming Dolly. Dolly dreams in me. Inside the dreamery, Dolly dreams me cell by cell. I grow as salt or ice, my gleg eye, dreg of tongue. brain stars, dazzle fat. Dolly fets my filamentary hide. This white wound, this clipsome crotch, Dolly dreams in me. In me, Dolly cuds the beginning with an outlaw dream, dreams in the white waste this rococo contagion. Kuru and kudzu, hijack and copy. Carbuncly with dreams the body she renders. And when I emerge from this dreamish sack, when finally I wake, what cystic vision, what soft disease. The Eye of Dolly. The great eye opens and we enter. We enter the Eye of Dolly, bright hull in which we will glide into sight. Hollow is the Eye of Dolly, a nacred chamber, an echoic and empty cell. Hello, I say, and the eye opens the word into a sheath to encase me. Show me, I say, and the eye turns the S into a snare. Deeper and deeper we glide into the darkling eye. Deeper and deeper we enter the dark where the glowworms lower their bright lures, or the auroras encrypt my fancy in the eye's high vault. There is no end to the Eye of Dolly. It hungers. Hungry is the Eye of Dolly, and we feed it. We feed it ourselves. Deeper and deeper we glide into the darkling eye. Look at me, Dolly, I say, and the eye says, look at me. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Claire. And lastly, I want to welcome Deborah Poe here at Cadmium. Her new book just came out, Elements, from Stockport Flats Press. She is also the author of, and I can never pronounce this, Our Parenthetical Ontology. Yes. She has had work appear in a bunch of journals, including Jacket, Peaches and Bats, Sidebrow, Filter, and the Denver Quarterly. She also curates this wonderful exhibition every year at Pace called Handmade Homemade, which is all handmade books of poets, and it's really a great show if you ever get the chance to go down and see it. So, Deborah, welcome.
Thank you so much, Anne, and thanks to all of you for coming. I am going to read a few elements, which you'll know because they're entitled Elements. And then I'm also going to read some poems that I've been writing this summer. It's a new manuscript. I'm most comfortable saying it's using art about death as points of departure. So I'll read from both of these manuscripts, Elements and that manuscript. I'm going to start with Radium. This is in conversation with work by Laurie Anderson Mosman and Kate Greenstreet. Jolie might not be one of your color colony dates, but I know just what you, calm to coordination, might say. These luminous treasures before me might not be at brink of what's poisonous, but pollen down the river, like women we lost, passes like a morning cooking, a mother long-lived and radiant, where brown-eyed Susans lie everywhere, satisfied by marking granite. In fact, old poisonous unintelligibles die hard sunrise-wise, imagining luminous treasures we share a golden kill. I'm interested in lab tables, but damn the burn. Haven't we done all we could do? Did I tell you heart and mind possess the same character in Chinese? Whether oatmeal or spectral line griddle cake, we have something here. At her house, they aren't dates, they're photographs. Deadly reflections of trunks and foliage agree they hurt, like blood on the page from the tiny spider reaction, the sound of gunshots extraterrestrial take breath. 4 empty green chairs by the ongoing hair fire heave, where her fire burning bright, the half-poison night. When we dead awaken, yellow birds cries like tin, Outcrop kitchen memory irradiates, becoming swerves. How far would she really be? I mean, coming from spontaneous fire. This is perhaps what we all want, the dove cooing new metal delight, or the discovery something frightening is not simply coloration. Our product is acknowledgement of deadly potential. Talk to the scientist, the artist of hope and view, reluctant, the light gives understandable pride. So vista burden, minute etching, throat thicket, so now will you. Northeast, southwest. A 25-foot metal face mind fucks the distance. Vertigo is not the fear of falling. I resist the urge to jump. Good afternoon, negative volumes, miles sunk in the ground. Steel cast. Weatherings shadowed, downpour aside. A hipster's bright green legs, rearranged nomenclature. Sculptures mobilize longing. I don't see four forms unarming. Iron must place the hatch at that end. Expanse. It's strange reading these. I haven't really read these new ones. Strange and interesting. So with that, I'll read another element. Ununtrium. This is the poem that says, I like Sarah Goldstein's work. One of them. There's two that I planned on reading today. Ununtrium. In the morning, the sound of streets goes with the cars, tip of the dream phenomenon. There is a CD of scientists I am supposed to have listened to but haven't. It's called Artichoke. Rubbing my eyes, a genie appears. She takes a monkey's paw, rubs it against the side of my face, and says, different, I'm both scientist and artist. This isn't simply magic. I think I like where this is headed. She tips her head to the side in just such a way as to make her seem otherworldly. I mean alien. I say how many? She answers, as many lifetime allow. She adjusts her cape and grips the bullwhip kelp strand tighter. I notice she holds it left-handed. Breathe, she says, you're not breathing. I cough and then grip my teeth. I have seen no bottles in our yard. I sun in yesterday on the beach. In the tide pools, only Mediaster Aqualis Franciscanus. I'd read a story before. As for wishes, I wouldn't wish anyone dead back alive. One could never be sure with genies in what condition wished-for things would arrive. The one I have for Claire, unfortunately, is at home, and I don't have it memorized, but it's a poem using animals by Rufino Tamayo. So we'll just imagine that right there. Now I lost my list, so here we go. Untitled, 1959. Welded steel canvas, black fabric, soot, and coil. Across steel armature, fabric stretches, twists and winds, fastens of three-dimensional conveyor belts rise to curves, sutures, aerodynamic sag. Between textural richness and nothingness, round-faced relief sculpture of river god lurking. Seeing is privileged, but so is feeling. Organic and machine, sensual and geometric. Wire ends protruding. Soft oppositional language sharp. Other sense organs have one function, but the eyes have two. To see and to weep. Black hole, the final separation. To walk into unknown center. To witness what silence can do. Method. Photosensitive paper between light and dark. Ghostly silhouettes float in space. Hint extinction, bug after bug, a statement where grass is shadowed. Reading the signs, Manifestations on manufactured landscape, traces of specimens. Ask, though, about summons of death. You understand, obviously, witnessing disappearance while negotiating the Gulf, ruins or registers, familiarized by what subjects exposed. Still in the cool or exiting gesture, pressed between cicada and firefly, how we encode what we keep. Rousseau. Strong, erect stems, flat linear leaves, a plumose panicle of flowers, cosmopolitan genus of reeds. So-called today flows into tomorrow, today flows into yesterday, yesterday flows into today. A compound, living and dead, oil gulf stretched, washed into grasses, stretched on eastern side, south pass of Mississippi River, stretched in Louisiana. The threshold is ribbed and reinforced light, reinforcing the light threshold. A compound of living, oil from the leaking gulf, folded into grasses, folded south, Louisiana, lacking which it cannot project, it cannot protect, cannot horizon. Compounds, oil from leaking gulf, Louisiana, the threshold reinforced light, light threshold, dead tissue, lacking horizon, itself living in dead tissue, oil from the leaking gulf folded into grasses, Mississippi, Louisiana, the threshold, lacking cannot horizon, common giant, reed grass, yellow, roseau cane, Phragmites australis, a fence, a screen. This is Lifeline for Laurie Anderson Mosman. For those of you who went to the cave subterranean event, you might recognize a phrase in this. It's a phrase from Laurie Anderson Mosman's work, "When the clairvoyant pauses." Lifeline. Not a planchette point, but particular crease and palm. Lifeline from various angles. No line unintersected. Beyond the tangible triangle, the sharp round echo squares off. When the clairvoyant pauses, bearings more phosphorescent than bleak. Among axes, a signal or harness. Back to the brick wall's brink. This is Les Feuilles Mortes, or the dead leaves. What there is not love is sun, but memory's casualties, curtain billows, only for slight light to rift, along with few autumn leaves, even golder with their intrusion. A rug, both plant and animal, you rise above. Chest 5 arches open. Oh, the androgynous fashion, the way one is drawn in. Sitting 1 foot forward, cleavage of body and matter, I wind the yarn tied invisibly to the center of you. What breaks out is birds. Faceless gray shadow, moss pockets, memory floor to ceiling, walls semi-soundproofed, curtains motion soundless. Noise, a bloodshed recollection, leaves admit and defy at once. Ghost disclosures, continue this conversation on empty chair, bench, mantle. In the heart of the room, I pulled at the center of you, and life came spilling out. Anne Pentium. This is in one-word section titles. I'll read those section titles too. Anne Pentium. Longing. Black ice tongue. Trembling under space. Just below the skin. Frontier, Sequoia, Cherokee, Syllabary, Inventor, Amazing Grace, sings Trail of Tears. Language, horse running through window, wild, Chincoteague, breathe, your mouth, over silence, choke, cold, your speech. Death 1, 2 cornflower blue columns, xenon, see how they light up the night? Death 2, how will I generate my own ghostly light? Do you want to hear one more? Okay, just trying to decide. I was planning on ending there, but do I have time to read 2 more or just 1? Okay, I'll read 2 more. I think I went kind of faster than I planned. It feels like I did, so thanks for listening, everybody. It's fun to read all these new ones. So 2 more new ones. This is Seance. It's for Max Greenstreet. If I accept the word premonition, I am no longer entirely a spectator. I myself become the fish for the duration of a silver flash, and the water functions as a source into which I aspire to have clear vision. Taking a seance, the science of phone ringing. Taking a seance as basis, the defenders of hauntings place their hands upon a table as if they themselves are possessed. That of making ghost apparent, having itself become the village. Similarly, in the case of spirits within the frame, that of apparent element, filament, and fingers of the not-so. Having become the light, they say, look at the medium. Channels rise above evocation table. No way to tell whether the communicating spirit is who it professes to be. And this is the last. Reveries of a Solitary Walker. I think that's the direct translation. The sky is a horse. Or if you say the sky is a horse, you could say the sky is the teal underbelly of ocean. But to say that sky is teal underbelly of ocean, you could just as well be the bowler hat. Colors theorize the world seeing. A well-dressed man dreaming of death presents not merely a solitary walker, but blurs lines between living and dead. Would you recognize your loneliness less fragile? There is, after all, a bridge. You could promenade by the river, which could also be a road. Walk alongside low-lit path as if this body was not levitating behind. Your dead body, lacking dislocation, tongue and teeth, has lips. Your dead body has bald alien head. Your dead body has 4 visible ribs. Maybe you fall asleep, ceilingless, standing. Look back and you might count the ribs, might inappropriately touch the lips. That bonds arbitrariness. Name the painting and a dream shapes the dusk. Name the image and night is bound, but you stare ahead at acacias, more like the darkness than this tone behind. Light body, eyes closed, being just beyond. Thank you.
So you know Deborah and Claire have books for sale, and they're out front if anybody wants to buy one. Get in touch with the poet. I always feel like it's sort of auspicious when a train comes by because it turns it into the sound experiment here, so that was really cool. Thank you for rolling with it.
I always like it when it happens during the Surrealists because it seems quite apropos.
We are actually taking a break for a couple of months from Cadmium because they are having a Nancy Graves installation here, and so which is fantastic. But if we were going to do poetry readings, we'd all be like lying on the floor, and that wouldn't be so great. So the next Cadmium reading is going to be in the beginning of December. Vít Bakaitis is going to come up and join us reading from his new book, which will be out from Kimberly Lyons, New Press, Lunar Chandelier, and he will be joined by Nancy Kuhl, who is my Shearsman roommate. She is a curator at the Yale Antique Book Library, so she's kind of the 2 of them. It's going to be a great reading. It's going to be terrific. So I'm really looking forward to that. And I think in January, Anna Moscovitis. Did I do that right? Say it.
I can't. But I know that wasn't right. There's a V, there's like a...
No, there's no V.
Javakis.
Okay. Thank you for jumping in with that. And my friend Maureen Thorson will be up from DC. She's got Big Game Books, so she'll be here in January. So thank you all for coming. Have a little bit more wine, and we'll see you.